All right, you're going to have to excuse my voice. I'm a little bit sick. I just finished chapter 2 and 3 of The Way of Edan, so I'm on page 50. Now, I want to say this about this first 50 pages. If you've only read the prologue and decided might not be for me, or if you don't want to get into a debut novel, fair enough. But my experience with the first 3 chapters has been positive so far. Here are the things that I would say about it. If you're familiar with John Gwynn's writing, you know that scenes happen very quickly. He doesn't waste too much time with any given scene. Kind of trims the fat that way, and I have found that here as well. Now, I don't always love that, but I also kind of like it at the same time. I don't think John Gwynn's books needed to be these 1,000 page epics like Steven Erikson writes, even though I love both. Sometimes I like something that just kind of gets to the point, and sometimes I like things with a lot of philosophical musings and things like that. Now, I have found that Philip Chase in his writing is, he does have those philosophical things to think about. Mostly, I think, kind of towards the end of his scenes before he kind of gets rid of that scene and goes into a new scene. He has some good lines that he leaves you with before going on that really kind of uh, more introduces you into the character in a good way. Now, it's very familiar in some ways. I would call it sort of classic fantasy so far, even though I don't really know everything that's going on. There's an interesting magic system being introduced, which uh, I don't recognize, but I maybe you can see some echoes of it in some other neat things that we have seen. Really like it. There are these 2 characters so far that, well, I mean, there's a lot of characters, but there's Day Raven, who kind of reminds me of a little bit of we've seen this sort of thing, this kind of shepherd boy, even though he's not really a shepherd. But he's going off with his awesome warrior dad, and all the people are going out, and I'm not going to give away stuff, but this is in the first 50 pages. Goes out there, they're trying to chase down these things, and finally the dad says, "Stay with the horses." He's like, "No, I want to fight." It's like, "No, stay with the horses." So it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing that this sort of starts out as. But he's Snoopy, and he does his own little thing anyway. So that's kind of neat. I like those kinds of stories. It kind of reminds me of fantasy from the 90s. We also have this girl, Sakara, I think was her name, and she has a very interesting story as well. I am very intrigued in seeing um, what happens with her and what her kind of story beats are. And the magic system introduced through her very much reminds me of something we're reading in Malazan currently, which I like. I don't know if it's going to be sort of the same thing. Obviously, it's just fantasy, so a lot of these series echo each other. But I've really liked it. I have found it got progressively better. I was worried going into the prologue that debut novel, booktube guy. Um, but I haven't thought about that. I did for chapter 1, but in chapter 2 and 3, I've just been enjoying the ride. And I imagine, I was going to get to chapter 4 by Monday. I imagine I'll probably get beyond that. I'm going to probably just be reading. I'm at a good part in Malazan where I might take a day or two to just comprehend what's going on with that halfway point in Midnight Tides. And I might stick with this for a little bit, at least until maybe the 100-page mark or something like that. So, all right. And I'll talk to you. I'll give some kind of spoiler discussion at the halfway point or something, but just wanted to come in and get in again and say it's been positive so far.